Raiders! It's Raiders Fan Radio, a podcast by Raiders fans for Raiders fans who are the only fans that matter. That's right, Murf and Sonny from the Dago Dungeon. You got it right here, live.
Touchdown! Kenny Stabler goes all the way.
We miss you, we love you, and we'll see you in the Hall of Fame.
When you have great coaches, then after you have great coaches, you get great players. You have a great organization, and you tell them one thing. Just win, baby. Well, I love this team. I think this team can win. I think this team can win.
Welcome in to episode 36 of Raiders Fan Radio. I am your host, Sonny Dago, up here in the beautiful sunshine, 90-plus degree weather up here in Oregon. With me in studio, as always, is my co-host, who's not experiencing as such pretty weather. Murf, how's it going out there in rain-soaked Tennessee?
My gosh, it's like the swamp down here in Tennessee. In the Music City, it's not such a lovely day. It's raining like crazy, and it has been for like a month. But my wife, my beautiful wife, has a pot of sauce on the stove, or as our Sicilian grandmother would call it, sugu.
Sugu.
And oh my gosh, the house smells amazing. And it's I'm sitting here doing a radio show about my all-time favorite football team with my favorite cousin, and I could smell the sauce on the stove. Like it's a good day. It's a good Saturday, Sonny.
It's a good day. It's a good day. Yeah, I appreciate the favorite cousin remark, and we are the favorite and most preferred nephews of our Uncle Mark. Speaking of Uncle Mark, how can people find out more information about our show?
Hey, boys and girls, this is Uncle Mosh. That's right. Somebody actually claims Sonny and Murf. These two. Check them out on their website, RaidersFanRadio.com. You can friend them on Facebook at Raiders Fan Radio, or you can like their fan page at Raiders Fan Radio Podcast. Hey, I don't tweet. I don't even know how to use a Twitter, but they do. You can tweet them at Raiders Fan Radio. Call them. Leave a voicemail if you want. Go old school. 909-345-3346. That's 909-345-3346. Hey, do this. Please subscribe and rate Raiders Fan Radio on iTunes. You can listen to the show on all podcast services like Stitcher, TuneIn, Podcast Addict, and many, many more. Okay, am I done? Did I say all the stuff I was supposed to say? All right, I'm out of here.
Appreciate that, Uncle Mark. All right, Murph, we got a big show lined up once again in the dead of the off season. We have a monstrous list going over famous birthdays of July 4th. As we all should know, Al celebrated his 88th birthday on July 4th this past week. So we scoured the internet and we scoured the annals of history. I always wanted to use that word on the radio. And we have put together a ginormous list of the most important birthdays on July 4th. However, that'll be the last topic we cover. First topic, Eddie VanderDOES sign his contract. Second topic, Lott's concerns about Vegas. Third topic of the day is Jihad Ward's surgery. The fourth topic of the day is Gabe Jackson is developing a mean streak. Interesting. The fifth topic, which me and Murph are both in agreement on, there is no parking issue in Vegas. It is only a parking awesome opportunity. Number 6, we visit our friends from the Raiderramble, an article they recently wrote, asking, is Derek Carr better than Aaron Rodgers? Murph, who has been a long time distant lover of Aaron Rodgers, takes extreme anger towards this article. And then our seventh and final topic is going to be Al's birthday and the list, and it's good stuff. Al, also, we have an interview. Now, let me preface this interview real quick. We interviewed a guy named Joe Nelson. He runs a website called SanDiegoRadio.org. He was a lifelong Chargers fan until July 1st, when he declared to the world via Instagram that he was now officially a Raiders fan. And so me and Murf reached out to him, and Joe was gracious enough to come on the show and give us an interview. Now, he was working today, and there was some stuff that happened previous to him coming on the show, so I do respect the fact that he still came on the show. But the interview was awkward, Murf, and this isn't a knock against Joe. Again, I appreciate and respect the fact that he came on the show. It's an awkward interview because it's about a lifelong Chargers fan becoming a Raiders fan. I want to say overnight. Joe says he thought about it for a lot of months. It's just awkward, Murf, and so the interview didn't go quite as planned. Usually we have a pretty formatted line of questions and how we want it to go, and it just took this weird turn. And I think the weirdness of the format of the article emphasizes the weirdness of a Chargers fan becoming a Raiders fan, or really any fan of a rival team then becoming a fan of the rival team, essentially. You know what I'm saying, Murph? So I don't know. I walked away from the interview just kind of weirded out by it to a certain degree. Again, this isn't knocking on Joe. It's just, is this going to happen more? Are we going to see more Chargers fans becoming Raiders fans? Do we accept that as Raiders fans? And we'll play the interview for you in a minute. But Murph, any thoughts before we play it?
This is what happens when teams move. That's it. It creates awkward situations. It creates awkward things for us as fans because we don't know what to do with ourselves, because as we've talked numerous times, our identities, whether good, bad, or indifferent, at some point and to different levels, our identity gets tied up into our teams and the cities in which those teams play in. And when that's taken away from you, it creates an awkward environment. And so that definitely came out in our interview with Joe.
So without any further ado, let's go ahead and play that interview for you right now. It is an interview with Joe Nelson from SanDiegoRadio.org. All right, Raider Nation, we have a special guest today. His name is Joe Nelson. He formerly was a lifelong, the team formerly out of San Diego fan, and he has now switched over to the silver and black as of 7/1/17. He runs a website called SanDiegoRadio.org, SanDiegoRadio.org. He's a family man, lives down there in Southern California, and we have him on the show today with us. Joe, thanks for coming in. How you doing?
Guys, thanks for having me. Things are good.
Joe, right off the bat, the first thing we always ask our guests is, what's the origins of your Raider fandom?
Why did I switch over?
Sure.
Well, we used to have a team, as you mentioned, and a lifelong fan of that team. Put a lot of money, a lot of time into that team. Even professionally with the radio thing, put a lot of efforts into that. That team decided to uproot 56 years of history and move to a place, to a city, where the city has made it very clear that they're going to be at the bottom of the ladder. They're going to be down there with the Clippers, Ducks. And that's fine. They can go and do that. I love football, and I needed a team, and I wanted to keep it in the West because I want to see that team lose at least twice a year to my team. So that put it between the Broncos, the Chiefs, and the Raiders. Not a chance I'm rooting for those other teams. Got a lot of friends, including here in San Diego, that are Raiders fans. I've always admired it, even though they've always been an adversary, the bad guys. It's just always been something about them I loved, especially their fan base. It's a fan base like none I've ever seen. And this decision didn't come willy-nilly. The stadium talk down here has been going on for about 12 years, and it's just been ad nauseum. And so I've always run it through my head, especially the last year or so. What am I going to do? And most likely when they move. I really saw the writing on the wall, especially knowing people in the business, getting a lot of information. They were gone. And, man, I tell you what, silver and black sure looked good. I wouldn't mind seeing them putting some blood on the bolt.
So, Joe, I'm trying to wrap my mind around it. You answered a couple of different questions I already had. How do you root for the rival of a team that you rooted for your entire life, and you stated to see that rival now beat your former team. So the hatred you have now for the team formerly in San Diego is more than the teams you hated when they were their rivals, essentially. Is that what you're saying?
Well, first of all, I think you're picking up on something, mentioning that team's name, and I think you picked up on that quite well. But yeah, there's that old saying: you can't beat them, join them. Not entirely true, but in this case, that's what I'm sticking with.
So you're kind of going the way of Kevin Durant. You couldn't beat him, so now you're going to join him. Is that correct?
Well, we did have a nice run against you guys, and you guys had some good games against us. I mean, who can forget in the 80s, but I'm here. I'm not turning back. I did not leave my team.
Raider Nation, we're on with San Diego Radio Joe Nelson. He is a blogger from down there in Southern California in San Diego, and he has sworn off his San Diego Charger fandom and is now picked up with our beloved Oakland Raiders. And so I have a question for you, Joe. This is Murph. How is it that, as a lifelong fan of that team that we won't speak of, how is it that you can set them down and then pick up, as a fellow lifelong fan, as a diehard football fan, if the tables were turned, if I were confronted with the decision of rooting for the San Diego or now L.A. Chargers instead of the Oakland Raiders, frankly, Joe, I have trouble wrapping my brain around that, about being able to do that. And that's, you're not taking a shot at you by any means. We on our show often say that, there is no definition to fandom other than your the passionate involvement or the care that you have for that football team. So this is not taking a shot at you, but help me understand, how is it, even despite all the hatred that you have for that team, how is it you could pick up the Raiders fandom, that Raider mantle, relatively easily?
Well, I thought I kind of answered that earlier by wanting to see that team lose. I was a baseball coach for many years, very competitive, and some of my friends are like, I'm going to take a year to think about it and whatever. No, I'm going right at it. Football season is going to be here in a couple months. I want this, and I want this now. I want to see defeat. And as I said, I've always admired the Raiders, and especially their fans. I'm here. That's my decision.
So being that there was an easy decision for you, and I think I kind of fall on the side more of what your family and friends are taking the approach of, maybe taking some time off, evaluate your fandom, much like our friend Tom Hanks, who's no longer welcome on our show, by the way. But he decided that he was going to take some time off of football when the Raiders move and determine what he was going to do with his fandom. So You mentioned it already a little bit about your friends taking time. Has that been the overwhelming sentiment of your friends and family and the fans down there in San Diego, that they're going to kind of take a break from football, or is this kind of are you more in line with the masses here, that everybody's kind of jumping ship and going to other teams right away?
I wouldn't say it's the majority. I know a lot of friends who picked up the Rams because they're going to be that team's neighbor, and for whatever reason, they want to, from a business aspect, I suppose, they want to see that type of defeat. Perhaps some of them have gone back to fans that they liked when they were kids before. We have a lot of transplants in San Diego. Teams that they admired when they were younger. Now they're falling back to those teams.
Joe, what about the fact that the Raiders are essentially doing to Oakland, in a certain way, what the Chargers are doing, what the Chargers did to San Diego? Is there any correlation there? I don't know how closely you followed the team you formerly rooted for and their stadium negotiations with San Diego, but we followed Oakland and the Raiders pretty close, and it seems there's fault on both sides. Are you, as a former fan, are you blaming the owner more than anybody else? Does the city of San Diego have any liability in this? What are your thoughts on that?
From a San Diego standpoint, it was 100% Spanos. Some do blame the mayor. Some blame the fans. We were given a token election, which really, it had no substance. We knew it was going to fail. Everybody knows that was Alex Spanos' way of saying, yeah, we tried. Okay, we're gone. And they really gave the San Diego the fuzzy end of the popsicle right there. Everybody knew they were gone. At least something I could admire about the Raiders is they were very open about it. I followed that one too. And, I mean, I hurt for the Oakland fans, but at least they have an owner who was straight up with them. And he says, yep, I'm having discussions with Las Vegas. Yep, if they promise to build me a stadium, we're going to go. We had none of that. We had a lot of hiding from the media from this owner. Just as I said, token things, some little rallies. And I was trying to see it right down the middle. And I'm telling you right now, they knew where they were going.
Isn't that kind of a hallmark of Spanos as an owner? Hasn't he kind of done a lot of shady stuff? So is it easier for you to transition out of being a fan of this team because the guy's kind of a tool to begin with?
Yeah, he's always been a turnoff. I mean, he's never really, put himself out there and endeared himself to the fans. I remember when, I hope my facts are right here, but when Junior Seau had his memorial, there were certain things that he allowed and didn't allow from the family. Or even at the Hall of Fame induction, he didn't really go to bat for the Seau family. I mean, he's just a businessman.
All right, Joe. So as a Raiders fan myself, there's a lot of talk about what's a true Raiders fan, who are true Raiders fans, etc. And we're wanting to know, why should Raider Nation accept you into the fold? Should we accept people jumping ship from other teams to come on to the Raiders now that they're doing good all of a sudden? So real quick, can you name 3 starting players on the Raiders' current roster?
I can't answer that one.
Okay. Do you know the quarterback?
You hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear us?
Derek Carr.
All right.
I'm heading into Mission Valley right now, and coincidentally, the data sucks in Mission Valley. And funny, that's where the team used to play.
Yeah, right. Do you know the quarterback who is often referred to as a reptile for the San Diego or for the Oakland Raiders?
Stabler.
There you go. That's good. All right, that's good.
All right, Joe. There we go.
What do the L.A. Police Department and the L.A. Chargers have in common?
Oh, Jesus. Is this a joke?
Could be.
Well, you got me on that one.
Neither can stop a Bronco.
Oh, boy. Well, that's probably going to be true. I hope that's true.
All right, Joe. Well, hey, again, we're talking to Joe Nelson, SanDiegoRaider.org, was a lifelong fan of the team, formerly out of San Diego, is now coming over to the Silver and Black. So Silver and Black, so Raider Nation, what do you think? Should we allow Joe to become a fan? He's laid out his reasoning. It sounds legit. He hates his team so much.
I hate to interrupt you, but I'm not sure I actually really pled my case on that one.
Go ahead. Here you go.
You mentioned the term jumping ship. Whose ship jumped from who? As I said earlier, the team ditched us. I needed a team. It wasn't going to be a Spanos team, that's for sure. I do have a lot of friends who are Raider fans. Respect them. I've always respected them. I did brief them on this idea a year ago. They said, we will welcome you to Raider Nation, provided it's for life. And I shook each of their hands as we had this discussion, and I agreed. It is
I love
for
it.
life.
Well, if your friends have welcomed you in, then I guess we will too. The radio or the listeners will have their take as well. But I appreciate your honesty about it, and I appreciate you being up front. Again, it's an interesting concept when it comes to fandom, and you're right. The Chargers left you. You didn't leave them. They left you. And so, does that make it okay? It's an interesting situation that I think a lot of people are going to find themselves in who are fans of, maybe the St. Louis Rams, the former Chargers team in San Diego, and maybe even the Raiders out of Oakland once they move to Las Vegas. So,
if I can add one more thing.
Go ahead.
I have full intentions on diving 100% into this team. I will be studying rosters. I will be checking the internet. It's baseball season right now. My head is wrapped around baseball currently, but football is right around the corner. I will be with my Raider fans in the garages here in San Diego, and we will be hoisting the silver and black all around and cheering on the Raiders.
Well, while you're at it, Joe, I would suggest you jump ship from the San Diego Padres, as they ain't going to do anything.
I was just going to say,
well,
you're a sucker for punishment, aren't you, Joe?
Hey, I'll tell you what. Anybody can be a Yankees fan.
Oh, I hear you.
When you're born and raised in San Diego and you're a fan of that team and the Padres for 47 years, you don't change. I mean, there's extenuating circumstances.
At least when you go to a game, you don't have poo flowing through your dugout.
This is true.
That's true. Well, we do have a nice ballpark down there, but
you have a gorgeous ballpark down there. That's something that our Oakland A's can't say.
I don't see the Padres going anywhere, and they're absolutely my team.
All right, Joe. Well, hey, we'll let you go. Appreciate you coming on again. Joe Nelson, San Diego San Diego Radio.org. Maybe you should change your name to San Diego Raider. That'd be a cool name. San Diego Radio.org. He's all over Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and check out his website. Joe, real quick, what is San Diego Radio? You kind of cover all the local news down there. Is that what you're doing with that?
Yeah, I cover all the radio and local television and news down here. Anything on the air, off the air, behind the scenes, any changes, any flips. I do spotlights on radio and TV personalities down here. Cover any promotional events. Just basically the media writer for San Diego.
There you go. All right, so Raider Nation, check him out. Again, thanks for coming on, Joe, and we look forward to rooting for the Raiders with you.
Thanks, guys.
All right, Murph. Again, Joe, appreciate you coming on. I give him credit, Murph, for being out in front and for not like quietly rooting for the Raiders. I mean, this guy's putting it out there. He's like, I was born and raised in San Diego, 47 years, always rooted for the Chargers. He said he had respect for the Raiders. And, kind of like you respect the Patriots, even though you hate them. But, like, could you ever see yourself jumping ship? I don't know. So I respect the fact that he's doing it, that he's putting it out there, and he came on the show to talk about it. But I walked away, Murph, thinking it was even more of a weird situation than I did going into it. What do you think?
Yeah, 100%. I think that the awkwardness that we discussed definitely came out, and I felt like he was almost maybe insulted, I don't know, or bothered by my follow-up questions about trying to understand where he's coming from. And it wasn't that I didn't believe him the first time that he stated why he was changing, but it was because of my own lack of understanding about how you could do something like this. I still don't get it, frankly. And any feeling that we or we would hope anybody, our listeners, have about the idea of switching your fandom from the Chargers to the Raiders, or it could go for any franchise, from the Packers to the Bears, or from the Colts to the Titans, or whatever it may be. While we may not understand it, I don't want to, it's not an indictment of Joe, because as we've also said numerous times on the show, that your fandom is only defined by your passion for that team. That's it. And I firmly believe that. So I don't hold it against the guy for doing what he's doing, but I don't get it. I just don't understand how you can do that. I mean, I have a deep-seated, I don't want to use the word hatred because that's unfair, but dislike for Phillip Rivers and the San Diego Chargers. And guess what, Joey Bosa? You're on the short list now, too, because you wear that stupid uniform. I didn't like LaDainian Tomlinson. I don't like Keenan Allen. I didn't like Dan Fouts or Kellen Winslow or yada, yada, yada. Go on from, Chuck Muncie. I didn't like you or your stinking Rex Specs. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like the San Diego Chargers. Never will. So the idea of abandoning my Raider fandom to go root for a team and just to purely spite the team that left me, I don't get it. I don't understand it. Because along with that, I'm 44 years old. Along with my 44 years of Raider fandom, I've got 44 years of hatred for the Broncos, the Chargers, the Chiefs, right? The Cowboys indirectly, the Niners indirectly, the Steelers. You know what I mean? It's Oakland against everybody or the Raiders against everybody for a friggin' reason. And to try to then turn your fandom to align with that one of those teams just because the Raiders pissed me off, I don't get it. I think that I'd have gone off script. Like I'd have been a Dolphins fan or you know what I mean? Or a Vikings fan or something. Like I think that if I'd find something else or somebody else to root for, I mean, I guess it makes a little bit of sense because the Raiders going to Vegas are still semi-regional to San Diego, but I don't get it. I don't get it. And I'm sorry that Joe might have felt a little put off by my continued questioning of that, but I still don't understand. And we could probably have him on the show for another hour, Sonny, and I still don't think I can wrap my brain around it.
Yeah, I think I understand it maybe a little more than you do. I can empathize a little bit with him. You know, to have your team ripped out from you, to have that intense hatred for the owner, to root for what I believe is the best team in that division. The team that has the best presence already in Southern California. You know, it's not like the Chiefs or Broncos have a good presence in Southern California. The Raiders have an outstanding presence in Southern California. He stated that despite his hatred or his love affair for the Chargers, you know, he didn't really hate the Raiders. He respected them while still being a Chargers fan. So you know, it wasn't like, you know, I think as a Raiders fan, you grow to hate other teams. Maybe as a fan of other teams, you don't hate other teams as much, but
which is why when there's a freaking game in San Diego, it's a Raider home game.
That's what I'm saying.
Because those fans don't care nearly as much as we do. Is the way I took all that.
Yeah, and so you know, I understand. I guess his thought process. It's still pretty weird, and I guess one of my questions is this going to happen more with San Diego fans? Is the Raider Nation going to get more, you know, left out in the dark Chargers fans because they're moving to Vegas, because it's so close, because of the already, you know, mass appeal of the Raiders in Southern California? And then I wonder about on the Raiders end, are there Raiders fans pissed off enough to jump ship and be a fan of the Chargers, the Broncos, or you know, what's the other team in our division? I can't remember right now. Oh yeah, the Chiefs. You know, is there any Raiders fans who are so pissed off at Mark Davis they're going to do the same thing? And I got to say, Murph, I can't see that at all. Even the most diehard, you know, the Oakland fans who just hate Mark Davis with a passion, I got to give them credit. I can't see any of them ever rooting for the Broncos or the Chargers or the Chiefs. Maybe only if the Raiders play them and they want to see the Raiders humiliated. But, like, to be just an out-and-out fan of that team, because, like, Joe is saying, you know, I get the sense of he wants to root for the Raiders to beat the Chargers twice a year. But what about the other 14 games of the year? He's just rooting for the Raiders. Like, I don't see a former Raiders fan rooting for the Broncos 16 times a year or the Chiefs 16. You know what I'm saying? So
that sounds terrible. Just
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Gives me the
and so so again, I respect the fact that he's putting it out there. He's doing it. It's just weird, bro. It's just weird. And so now the question is, to you, Raider Nation, listening to our show, listening to Joe's interview, what do you think? Do you accept this? Do you welcome him? You know, do you say, hey, about time you've seen the light? Hey, welcome to the winning team. Welcome to the good side, right? Welcome to the fan base that's actually won Super Bowls. Welcome to the team that actually has moved going somewhere and doing good things. Or do you not accept him? Do you say, get the hell out of here, right? Like where does this all fall in regards to bandwagoning, right? Because the Raiders are starting to be good now. I get his main premise is that the Chargers are leaving, but do you get the sense that there's a little bit of bandwagoning going on, like because the Raiders are on the up and up now? Would this have happened, say, 5 years ago when the Raiders were struggling to be 8-8? Would the Charger fan come over then, or is it only now that the Raiders are good? So I just have a lot of other questions I would love to ask him. So I guess my question now is to you, Raider Nation, to you, lifelong Raiders fan, is this a good thing? Is this a good thing, and do you welcome this kind of jumping over and stuff? What do you think about that, Murph?
Yeah, like all of this, that's awkward. I welcome anybody to the fandom. Come on in. And as his buddies said to him, but if you're coming over, you're coming over for life. So I would say this, that I would welcome anybody to the fandom, but understand what you're getting yourself into in terms of the way you relate to other fans. And because this is what defines a lot of the Raider fandom to me, and I think to a lot of other people, is that we view our fandom as a different level of investment into our team than you have in yours. And what I mean by that is that this really is a lifestyle type thing. This really is who we are. And listen, we're Christ followers, we're husbands, we're fathers. Those are the things that define us. So keep it in perspective here in what I'm talking about. I'm talking about within the fandom, being a Raider fan, being fully invested in being a fan of this football team, in knowing the history, in watching consuming as much of the Raider of the essence of the Raiders that you can, whether that's just watching games or watching old games or being part of a booster club or giving back to the community with, all the different things that come with it. That's how we invest ourselves. And I think that's what shows me is the difference between, and I know there are other fan bases too that, Packer fan wants to say something about it. And I'm sure there are others as well, but really as fandom, it really is Raiders fans. That's what we grip onto. And so if he's going to do this, study your roster, bro. You know what I mean? Like, if you're going to do this, know what you're getting yourself into. Because guess what? We as Raider fans, we know everything about your damn team, and we show up to your team's games when our team is there. Like, it's a different level, okay? So if you're going to get into it, if you're going to expose yourself to the fandom and call yourself a fan, be ready, because we can kind of smell our own. You know what I mean? Like, we know, we can pick up on whether it's real or not. How many times, Sonny, have you been in the grocery store or out and about or at the mall or wherever, and you see somebody wearing Raider gear and you look at them and you're kind of sizing them up? You know what I mean? And for the most part, I'd say 90% of it, it's like, okay, we're eye to eye. We're just like, yes, go Raiders. Like, we're cool. But then every once in a while, you'll see that person and you'll be like, you'll say, go Raiders. And they're like, huh? What? Oh, my shirt. And I'm like, oh, no, man, really? You know what I mean? Like, if you see somebody and you're like, go Raiders, and their instant response is, yeah, go Raiders. Oh, my, can you believe what happened to Carr last year? Blah, blah, blah. Like, that's when you know what I'm saying? Like, there's a different, we know our own. So, Joe, come on board. Come be a part of what we're doing. We'll embrace you. We'll welcome you with open arms. But get ready for what you're getting ready to go through for the rest of your life. If you're going to claim being a Raider fan, know what the expectations are of that fandom. Is that fair?
Yeah, it's fair. I think in a way it's a tremendous compliment to the Raider fan base as well, in the sense that while he was a Chargers fan, he was looking over the fence. He was looking over the fence, seeing the passion, seeing his stadium taken over, seeing that no matter how many bad years they had, the loyalty and the passion was still there. I think in a way, it's at the end of it, it's a huge compliment to the Raiders and really the fan base that makes up the Raiders, that he would choose to come to the Raiders. So while we may be like, F this guy, bandwagoner, whatever people think, at the end of it, it really is a compliment to the Raider Nation, the fan base, and just the overall mystique of the Raiders, because it is a different fan base. It's a different thing when you're a Raiders fan versus a Jets fan or a Buccaneers fan or a Dolphins fan or a Chargers fan. It's unique, and let's see how it goes. Let's see where he's at in a couple of years from now and stuff. And if he comes in, he's a diehard and throws money at the team and supports the team, and then more power to him, man. We all came here at some point or another, right? Who are we to judge him? We were born into it, so in a way, he's choosing the Raiders, and we never had to. They were chosen for us by our fathers. So in a way, is he a better fan because he chose them, and we were born into them? That's a whole other conversation that we've wanted to have for a while. We'll save it maybe down the road. We'll see what happens. Again, I give him credit for doing it. I was a little taken aback. He didn't know some of the starting players in the roster. I thought that was, that's questionable. Again,
like the highest paid player in the history of the NFL and the defensive player of the year.
But again, he was driving and he was working, and he had said, something had happened right before the phone call. So I give him respect.
Free agent signing in the offseason, Marshawn Lynch. I'm just throwing it out.
I give him respect for still coming on the show. So I don't know. We'll see. I think time will tell. Time will tell. But
thank you for joining us, Joe.
It is a very interesting topic, and I don't think this is the end of it, Murph. I think this is really the beginning of what we're going to be seeing more and more of down the road. All right, moving on. Topic number 1, Eddie VanderDOES.
We are Metallica, and we are here for your Oakland Raiders!
You know why we out here, and we ain't playing around today.
From The Walking Dead to errant Jedi Knights, Raiders fans are a rogues gallery.
Hooah. Eddie VanderDOES signs his 4-year rookie contract. The only remaining players to not sign are Conley and Obi. I find it interesting that Eddie signed because he hasn't really been around that much, right? He wasn't able to practice a lot because of UCLA and stuff like that. He was a 3rd-round selection. He's the 7th Raiders draft pick to sign his rookie contract, and he's the highest pick so far. The Raiders are the only team in the NFL who currently have at least 2 rookies that are not signed yet. This is basically expected, right? Like there was no. I didn't hear anything that we shouldn't have expected Eddie to sign. So really nothing surprising here, right, Murph?
No, nothing surprising at all with the timing of his signing. I think that it opens up a little bit of discussion for the last 2 guys. As you mentioned, there are 2 guys left still to sign. That's Obi Melifonwu and Garyon Conley. And they are 2 of 9 players left from this year's draft that haven't signed. And there are a couple of things I think that are interesting in talking about those 2 players. One is that when it comes to a 2nd rounder like Obi, what's the point in delaying that signing? And I read something today that I thought was pretty interesting, is that if you wait longer to sign those 2nd rounders, that you get more time with the coaching staff. Because here's the thing, is that when it comes to rookie signings with the current collective bargaining agreement, it's really simple. Like there's not a lot of negotiation. It's not like the old days where you sign DeMarcus and they hold out.
It's a standard contract, right?
It's a standard contract. So there's not a lot of verbiage in there to negotiate on. So it's a done deal. So why delay a 2nd rounder? Well, if you wait to sign, then the CBA hasn't, quote, become official and kicked in as far as it relates to you directly, and you can spend more time at the facility. You could spend more time with the coaches. You can, because they can only have a certain level of contact, right? They're in their, quote, dead period right now. So I thought that was interesting. So I don't know how much validity there is to that, but I thought that was an interesting thing to have floated out there to certainly consider. And if you're talking about a guy that's going to be a big part of your defense and a versatile part of your defense that's not just going to be sitting back playing safety. He's going to be up at the line of scrimmage. He's going to be playing, who knows, a slot corner type role. We don't know what Obi's going to do, but we know whatever it is, there's special plans for him as a player. So that would require as much time with the coaching staff as possible. So I think that definitely makes sense. Then when it comes to Gary and Conley, the part of the rookie contracts that is still negotiable is what's called offset language. And it only exists for first round players. And what it is essentially is that the first 3 years of your contract, say it's $2 million a year. Okay. The first 3 years of your contract are guaranteed by the CBA, and the team that drafts you is the team that's going to be paying you for those 3 years. All right. But then when it comes to your fourth year or even your fifth year option, depending on where you get drafted, like what Khalil Mack had, when it comes to that fourth year, say you get cut. Okay. Say you get cut and you go play for another team. If you have offset language in your contract, what it does is it makes it to where the team that cut you doesn't have any liability to your salary anymore. So that means that if Gary Conley gets cut and goes plays for the Green Bay Packers, the Packers are responsible for his salary, done and done. Okay? If there's no offset language in the contract, it means that the player can essentially double dip. So if Gary Conley gets cut and he goes and plays for the Packers pay for his salary, and the Raiders still are liable for that $2 million. So essentially the player will then earn twice as much money. Okay? So the agents really push for no offset language to be in these contracts. Now, why does that make a hill of beans difference to the Raiders? Because when you're talking about $2 million, it's not enough money that's going to break the bank. And you're talking about a first-year player that you've invested a pick in. You're certainly going to expect him to be part of your football team 4 years down the road. Well, as we know, with Gary and Conley, there are some issues. There are potential legal hurdles. There is a lot to go on to still get figured out with this player. So there's probably, again, this is all Murf theory. I didn't read this anywhere. I'm just taking everything that I know about how the league works and applying some logic to it. There's probably a negotiation in the offset language to where the agents want it to be guaranteed by the Raiders. The Raiders don't want to guarantee anything, because if something happens with him legally and he's got to go to the big house for a little while, or for whatever else, other character concerns, and they got to cut him, whatever it may be, somebody smart like Reggie McKenzie doesn't want to be liable, doesn't want to be held to that, whatever his salary is. Again, say it's $2 million, doesn't want to have to pay that salary for somebody that's no longer part of and or contributing to the football team. So, you know, there's reasons for everything. And I know we started this conversation with the Eddie VanderDOES signing, but I think that it opens up the conversation into much bigger purposes and bigger things that are going on with the team, with not only him signing, the timing of that, but then the next two guys that are left and the reason why they're 2 of the 9 players that are left.
Bravo, Murf. Nice research. Any questions?
Are we ready for the next topic? You got nothing?
Hey, that was good. No, I got you. I don't need anything. I got you. Yeah. Onward and upward.
Okay.
Hey, just one time, I need it.
Raiders Fan Radio.
Okay. What is he, in the bathroom when he does that one? Sounds like he's on an old Nokia phone in the bathroom. Just shout, Raiders Fan Radio. Yeah, gomash. All right, Ronnie Lott surfaced this week twice. One, concerns about Vegas, and then 2, he made his statements that everybody in the silver and black tried all they could to keep the Raiders in Oakland. We'll touch on mainly about his concerns in Vegas. You did a lot of research this week on this topic. Is Ronnie Lott concerned about the city of Vegas, or is he concerned about the NFL's brand and the Raiders brand? What's the concern here that he has, Murf?
Well, you know, when I first read this story, and the headline is, you know, Ronnie Lott says it's going to be, you know, challenging for the team that goes to plays in Vegas, or that he's worried about the game being tarnished because of the team moving to Vegas. Whatever. The overall headline is basically it's Ronnie Lott had a negative connotation to the team moving to Vegas. And I'm, and I read that and I'm like, well, of course he did. Because he's, the one that tried to get the thing going for the Raiders and Fortress and all that stuff to keep the team local in Oakland. And so he's a little bit of a, sour grapes that they're moving on to Vegas. But in his defense, when you read through what his actual comments are, if you get past the headlines of it, which I know a lot of us are guilty not doing at times, but instead of forming our opinion about the headline, let's form it about what he actually said. And what he says is that he doesn't want the game to be tarnished because he's worried about the gaming influence and what that could have on younger players and the sport as a whole. And I think that that's fair. And I think that that's something that we as NFL fans, at least growing up, I always thought of is that, well, that's why there's never going to be a team in Las Vegas because of the chance to, buy off a player, buy a ref, whatever that. And so there was always that. And I think that's all he's saying is that he's concerned that may happen. Now, at the end of the day, you can do that anywhere, right? You and I could place a bet on our phones right now while we're doing this show. Like it's become a global thing. It's not so much based on geographic location as it used to be. So, that is kind of, and he talks about that in the article. And so that he's kind of, put at ease by that. But again, there is that concern on the front end. So there's a couple of things they talk about that, like in UNLV game days, the sports books won't take bets up an hour before game time and yada, yada, yada. There's a lot of things that they have in place to keep from the fix getting in. And I think that, look, the NFL's not stupid. They got $1 billion business on their hands here, and they're not going to do anything that would jeopardize the integrity of the gameplay. Because once you do that, then it becomes wrestling, and not that wrestling's not cool, but you know what I mean. But we watch the football for the authentic competition, not because of a predetermined outcome. So I think the NFL is smart enough to know not to go down that path, to put everything in place to prevent that kind of stuff from happening. And then, and then Ronnie ends the thing with, look, I want to see great football. He says that, look, I sense that this thing is bigger than me. It's bigger than just what my opinion is on it. And so, even though I have these little concerns, other than that, I think it's going to be great. He thinks it's a great opportunity, and he hopes that we're going to see great football out of it. So this is not Ronnie Lott taking a shot at the Raiders. It's not him taking a shot at the relocation. And most of all, it's not him being sour grapes to the fact that his group didn't win out and were able to put a stadium there in Oakland.
I thought it was very respectful, his comments, that he came out and said, the more we get into it, the more I'm wondering how they are going to keep that safe distance. Because you're right, people make bets all across the world on their smartphones, computers every single day of the year. But when the Raiders are right there in the middle of it, one thing you pointed out that Ronnie said is that it's one thing to do it in the comfort of your own home on the internet. You download an app, you pay $5, you play some poker, you pay $5 more to buy in. We know all that stuff. But in Vegas, that's where the professionals live. That's where they roam. That's where those, the real sharks hang out at. And so you have to wonder, as much as the NFL can do to keep the game from not being tarnished, what are the odds, or what keeps, a high-powered guy getting in the head of a young rookie, maybe a guy that's not going to be on the team very long, doesn't have a long future in the NFL, he returns punts or kicks for the Raiders or an opposing team. There's a big bet coming up this weekend, and that guy says, hey, we'll give you $5 million to muff a punt during the game or something like that. Do you ever think that something like that could go down?
Yeah, I do. I think that it's possible. Everything is. But I think also that that's possible regardless of whether the team is in the backyard or not. Where I think that your point really becomes valid is that my concern is not so much for the organization of the NFL. My concern is more for the players themselves. Exactly. Is that, Vegas and the people in Vegas are experts at separating you from your money. That's what they do for a living. That's why they have all the pretty lights. That's why they have, everything that they have. That's why they give away rooms and give away food and give.
But they gave me a hotel room because they appreciate my personality.
Yeah, exactly. Those free drinks are there to turn your judgment questionable and again separate you from your money. Everything they do, and we're going to talk about this later too in the show, but everything they do in Vegas is to separate you from your money. And so if you have, 53 young millionaires in your backyard, they're going to try to separate those guys from their money. And so, there's a lot of character on this team, the current Raiders crop of players. There's a lot of character. There's a lot of maturity despite their youth. There's a lot of moral aptitude there. There's a lot of good young men on this football team. And I'm not necessarily worried about, the overall health again. But I'm worried about that one guy they get to. I'm worried about that one guy because it's not just, it's not just the casinos, right? There's a lot of other establishments in Las Vegas that, are ill repute, we'll just say. There are a lot of opportunities for them to set these guys up. And if you're not disciplined and if you're not cautious and you're not aligned where you need to be aligned, you could become vulnerable to a lot of things. Okay. And so that's my hope for these guys, is that they don't become exposed to something or they don't fall into something that they shouldn't be because of the proximity. That it's more the individual is more what I would be concerned with than the whole health of the NFL. Like that, I'm not worried about, or even the health of the Raiders. I think they're going to be fine, but I'm worried about that one guy. I'm worried about that Barrett Robbins. You know what I mean? I'm worried about that type of thing going on where somebody just loses their crap and goes nuts. I'm worried about somebody going Ray Buchanan. Like, you think about that, the stuff that these guys do before the Super Bowl because they feel like they're untouchable. Or
developing a blackjack addiction, keep it quiet for a while. You lose millions and millions and millions of dollars. Finally, they come to collect. I agree, man. I'm more worried about these guys preying on young 20, 21-year-old, 22-year-old millionaires and the mindset that comes with being a young millionaire who's been told they're everything and they're a god since they were 8 years old because they can run fast. I'm worried about those guys slipping. Not so much because as an organization, as a league, you can set parameters all day long. You can set up a safe space. That doesn't stop a guy from bringing a freaking gun in that safe space. You can set up parameters all day long for these guys, but it doesn't mean they're going to follow it. And so that brings into question, then it really puts the Raiders, but, I'm trying to figure out how to say this here. It puts the onus on the Raiders then. Do you think it puts the onus on the Raiders to only bring in high character guys from now on? Like before, think about the 70s Raiders, right? The 70s Raiders would not be able to play a game in Las Vegas,
gosh.
Right? But a large part of Raiders history was the outcasts, the second chances, the castaways, right? And so now it's a whole new crop of Raiders you have to bring in, because if you bring in a guy like Aqib Talib who has priors and has a history or something like that, that guy would not function in Las Vegas or the type of character that guy is, right? Who was that cornerback that was always getting in trouble there for a long time?
Pac-Man Jones.
Yeah.
Usually in Vegas.
You bring in a guy with his kind of character to Vegas, despite his great on the field talent. He's not going to work in a city like Vegas. And so now I think the Raiders...
Heck, Stabler, dude.
That's what I'm
Stabler's
saying.
whole thing was, reading the playbook by the light of the jukebox.
Yeah.
That was in Santa Rosa.
That's what I'm saying.
You know what I mean?
So,
that's not freaking Las Vegas, man.
And so now the Raiders, I think, even more than any other team has to look at this. They have to look at the character of these players and who they're bringing in more so than any other team. And in a way, that's kind of scary. In a way that's, it's extra temptation every single day of the week. It's extra potential trouble in the off season. It's just all the extra unknowns, and as you go through life, you want to limit the amount of unknowns in your life to make sure you're safe, and you get your health checks, you get your bank account set up, you buy your house, you make it safe. You want to eliminate the unknowns in your life to make sure life goes as smooth as possible for you. And with the Vegas thing, maybe this is just on the front end, but there's just a lot of unknowns there for these players and the proximity that they're going to be. And I think that was the heart of Ronnie's message. It wasn't that he's bitter. It's that, man, he's concerned, and he hopes that we maintain that high professional level there. All right, moving on.
You're listening to The Violator, and I'm live on Raiders Fan Radio. Where you at, baby?
Jihad Ward had surgery, Murph. Are we concerned, or is he going to come back in time?
He's going to be back mid-August. He had surgery, last week or whatever. He tweeted out or Snapchatted or whatever he did. Picture him in the hospital with a boot on his left foot, and this is the same foot that he had surgery on in 2015 when he was playing at the University of Illinois. And I think that was like a stress-related thing, so could have been like some sort of stress fracture or something. But I don't think this is of any concern at all. He says he'll be back by mid-August, which is training camp. So I think this is a lot of a non-story. But if there is any part of it that should be a story, it's that, we're kind of thin up there. We've talked a lot about
we're really thin. We're really thin now that Dan Williams left. There you
go. Hey, but no, we got Eddie Vander doesn't miss a buffet though signed.
That's
so
true.
He got to fill that role. See what I did there with role?
Yeah. That was good.
Thanks. But yeah, so if this ends up being a lingering type injury, if this ends up being something after training camp, then yeah, I think it is a big deal. Then I think that there is a relatively significant story there to be had. But outside of that, if everything is as portrayed, if this was something that just kind of, tightened some things up that showed up during OTAs on an old injury, then okay, so be it. I mean, that's what happens with professional athletes. They have lots of surgeries. Like it's, you know what I mean? I don't think it's anything crazy to worry about, at least not at this point.
He was selected 44th overall in the 2016 draft. His last year was, I would say, disappointing. He didn't live up to expectations. I think he had 30 combined tackles, 16 solo tackles, no sacks. We brought him in hoping to do some things with them, and he hasn't done anything at this point. He's just kind of filled a gap, essentially, on the line and on the roster spot. So, this is his second surgery in 2 years, Murph, right? Had it, right before his senior season, and now he's had it right before his second season here for the Raiders in the NFL. I'm a little concerned that Jihad might flame out here. After a disappointing first season, now another surgery. Is this going to be, to correct it 100%? Is it a broken bone? Is it a stress fracture? We don't really know. We're kind of left out. There's no really exact word on what the injury is and what it really even had repaired. All we just seen was a picture. So I'm a little concerned that Jihad's a bust, and we need to start thinking more, thinking differently about his position. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, the good news is that, yes, it will leave us short, but with what I feel is going to be a very unique front seven and especially hybrid front five that we're going to be rotating people in and out of, my concern would be more for his career as a long-term, much more so than it would be for the Raiders. Like from a Raiders perspective, from a team perspective, that even if, God forbid this be it for him or he's never truly sees his potential, I don't think that's going to hurt the team as bad as it just kind of sucks for him, because he never really got it going. And you always hate to see that. I hate to see wasted potential, and especially when it's, to none of his own responsibility. He's just injured, and that sucks. I hate that for him.
What did Robert De Niro say in A Bronx Tale to young Calogero? Do you remember that? Remember that movie?
I love that movie. Yeah,
it's one of the best.
Well, the whole door lock scene is always the one that I think about, when he teaches them to wait for the when you let a girl in the passenger side.
Oh,
of your car,
yeah.
She reach over and unlock the driver's side door, and if she doesn't, then she's not to be trusted. Something like that.
Yeah.
And then the best is that when the kid's walking around the front and she reaches over and flips the lock up, and he's like, "Yes!" That's the best, man. It's such a great scene.
But no, on the bus, he's talking about, Sonny the gangster and stuff. But then Robert De Niro tells young Colorado, the worst thing in life is wasted talent. And so yeah, is Jihad wasted talent now because of these surgeries? He flamed out. He's listed on the depth chart as the backup to Khalil Mack. We got Shalik Calhoun still there. We got James Cowser. We got a lot of guys kind of waiting there. Danico Autry, Edwards, how's he going to be? So is Jihad going to get lost in the shuffle? I think time will tell on this one. I think this is the make or break year as far as if we keep him around or not. He needs to step his game up, and I'm a little concerned that he's having surgery right before the season. So, time will tell, I guess, huh?
Time will tell.
Hey, boys and girls, this is Uncle Mosh. I'm sitting here. I got my Raiders jersey on. I'm wearing my Raiders hat. I got my eye black under my eyeballs. I got my Raiders football in my hand. I'm wearing my silver and black underwear. If there was only a good podcast I can listen to about Raiders football, I would be so excited. But all I got is Sonny and Murf on Raiders Fan Radio.
Nothing's ever been more true in the freaking dead of summer. There's absolutely nothing going on in football. I think majority of people are not podcasting anymore about football. And yet, Murph, here we are, still talking about surgeries.
Someone's got to do it. Someone's got to carry the mantle for fandom. 365, man. There's 52 weeks in this year, and, we're going to represent Raider Nation in every single one of them. So thank you for listening.
We appreciate everybody sticking with us in this dead time. Perhaps that's why our numbers have spiked. It's because there's just no other competition. We've just out-talked our competition, so therefore, because there's nothing else, they're listening to us. So that's cool. That works, Hey,
we're Sicilian. We know how this works. He who's loudest wins, right?
Yes,
so we just keep talking, man, and eventually we'll win you over.
He who's loudest gets the last breadstick. That's how it worked in our family. Speaking of a guy who hasn't missed a breadstick in a long time, Gabe Jackson. That's a good segue. Gabe Jackson, nice guy, right, Murph? This guy is a nice guy.
He's the best.
But is he not nice? Is he not nice, right? Mike Tice came out this week and talked about how Gabe Jackson is kind of developing a mean streak, right? This is Tice's quote. He started to play with more tenacity and aggression last season, and you can see him becoming an a-hole at the end of plays, Tice said. He's realized he's one of the most powerful guys in the field, and he's exploiting that. Off the field, he's a religious guy. Everything's about his family. Doesn't go out at night, right? There was almost times when he was too nice on the field, Tice said as well. So, when you're thinking about it, you want your linemen to kind of be on the nasty side, right? You don't want them to kind of be the guys that are helping the other guys up after the play. You kind of want them knocking the guys down time and time again, getting up in their grill, getting their hands up in their grill. You don't want them to be these nice religious type, right? You want them to be that tough guy. And I kind of like this, that Gabe Jackson is coming into this role. Because truth be told, I kind of thought he was a little softy. Not so much on the field, but his mentality, right? We all know Derek Carr is the nicest guy in the world. You don't want Derek Carr's mentality on the offensive line, I don't think. You want that big, mean brawler that's going to knock you down, and then you have to line up to him again, and he's going to look over at you and smile, and it's kind of this sinister smile. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think this is the Kalichi Osemele effect, because that's what Osemele is known for, right? Is that he's that, that rugged, gritty, scrappy. I hate to use the word scrappy because that sounds like small, but he's just he's relentless.
He's
right?
mean. He's mean.
He's mean, but not in a way that's outside the rules and integrity of the sport. And that's exactly what you want, is that you want someone that's going to go right up to that line but not cross it, right? You want somebody that's good, and that's, there were at times old Raider teams going back into the 70s where we crossed the line every single play, every single snap, right? But I think that when the Raiders are most successful, they're kind of pushing the boundary, but they're not crossing it. And that's what Osemele does. And I think that's awesome. And I think that has really started to rub off on Gabe. Plus, I think they're also, there's a lot of things that we've discussed with NFL contracts and as fans, the negative connotations that come along with big contracts. There's the I've gotten paid so I don't have to work as hard, or he's made his money. You've heard all these different things that get tossed around. But I think there's also an incredible validation. And when you're talking about somebody that's aligned morally in a positive way, like Gabe Jackson is, when you come off that rookie contract and you now become one of the highest paid players on the team, and you're validated, the Raiders and the league have shown Gabe Jackson that you are legit. You are one of the best at what you do. And with that, if that's channeled correctly, that can become an incredible source of motivation and positive pride, right? Like a good way to be like, yeah, no, I got you. I got you on this play. I know I got you. I didn't get up a sack all last year. I'm not going to start with you. You know what I mean? Like that to me is what he's probably feeling, and good for him. And you're right. That's exactly what you want. You want that kind of mentality that he's going to line up. He's going to beat your ass this play. I'm going to beat your ass next play, and I'm going to beat you the next time I see you too. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I love it, man. It fires me up.
The top 3 highest paid guards in the league are, can you name them?
Osemele, Jackson, and Marshall Yanda.
Yanda is 14th.
Oh, man, I was way off on that one. I don't know.
Kevin Zeitler from the Browns is the top paid guard in the league at $12 million.
Oh, they're going to win a championship now. Way to go, Browns.
Kalichi. Way to go, Browns. You have no quarterback to protect, but you paid the guy a lot of money to protect whoever you put back there.
How do you have that guy, Joe Thomas, and Alex Mack on the same line, and you can't protect your damn quarterback?
Well, Mack went to the Falcons, remember?
That's true, too. That's right.
So, Kalichi is second at 11.7, and Gabe Jackson is third at 11.2. The next closest guy is Kyle Long with the Bears at 10, and then David DeCastro is also at 10 from the Steelers. And I think you made a good point. I think we're paying Jackson because he's earned that paycheck, much like we're paying Carr because he's earned that money. While they haven't risen to the top of their specific craft yet, as far as quarterback and guard, the ceiling is still high for both those guys, and their recent history has shown they're worth that money. And now it's a matter of, all right, Jackson, you didn't give up a sack last year. You weren't a Pro Bowler, but you should have been. Now you're getting paid like it. Now it's time to see this guy rise to the ranks of being one of the best guards in the NFL. And I think he can. Osemele, he has a few good years left. He's getting up there. But Jackson, young, big, starting to become mean, has a good basis around him as far as his religious and family and stuff. He only has room to grow. And he's already not given up any sacks in the NFL. He's learning from guys like Rodney Hudson and Donald Penn and Osemele, right? So he has 3 veteran guys that can teach him and groom him and teach him to become that kind of nasty but still playing within the rules kind of game. I think Jackson, within a year or two, is going to be one of the best guards in the NFL. If he already isn't, maybe it's a matter of the rest of the league recognizing he's one of the best guards in the NFL.
Hey, boys and girls, this is Uncle Mosh. That's right. Somebody actually claims Sonny and Murf. These two. Check them out on their website, RaidersFanRadio.com. You can friend them on Facebook at RaidersFanRadio, or you can like their fan page at Raiders Fan Radio Podcast. Hey, I don't tweet. I don't even know how to use a Twitter, but they do. You can tweet them at Raiders Fan Radio. Call them. Leave a voicemail if you want. Go old school. 909-345-3346. That's 909-345-3346. Hey, do this. Please subscribe and rate Raiders Fan Radio on iTunes. You can listen to the show on all podcast services like Stitcher, TuneIn, Podcast Addict, and many, many more. Okay, am I done? Did I say all the stuff I was supposed to say? All right, I'm out of here.
Murph, do the Raiders have a parking problem in Las Vegas?
Sonny, this to me is one of the most off-season stories that has come out in recent history. And what I mean by that is this really a story? And I'm surprised. Well, I'm not surprised. Everybody takes shots at the Raiders at any opportunity they can, it seems like at times. And when I say everybody, I mean typically media types, whether it be Pro Football Talk or, whoever. Someone's always taking an opportunity to take a shot at the Raiders, and they're often scrutinized for things that are really not that big of a deal. And I think that this is one of those types of stories. Okay. The Raiders are, if you're not familiar with what's going on, the Raiders have submitted their formal lease plan for the new site in Las Vegas. And part of that lease plan is enlisting the help of UNLV to provide parking spaces on game days, because I forget what the percentage is. It's a very small percentage of the actual parking spaces available to fill a 65,000 seat venue. It's like, we'll say it's 10%. I don't know what the number is, but it was a small percentage of the amount of parking spaces necessary for that many people to attend a game. That small percentage was going to be available on the stadium site. So they enlisted the folks at UNLV to provide an additional 4,000 plus spaces or whatever for people to park there on game days. And UNLV, if you're not familiar with the layout of Las Vegas, is about 3 miles east of Las Vegas. Okay. Or it's still in Vegas, but it's 3 miles east of where the stadium would be, east of the Strip. So there's this big to-do from all these people about, the Raiders can't even get their parking figured out. So much for the tailgate experience on game day. Boy, the Raiders really blew this one. And I'm reading through all this, and I'm like, you people not understand how Las Vegas works? Like, if you look at a map of Las Vegas where the stadium site is, it's literally across the street to the north from about 4 different hotels. It's across the street from on the east side of it is Mandalay Bay and the Luxor and all those other, and then to the north west of it is the Orleans. And my point is, there are all these casinos and all these hotels and all this stuff around the facility, around what's going to be the stadium site. And Sonny, do you know what all those places have?
I don't know, Murph. Do they have any kind of seating or any areas to kind of hang out and drink and eat? I mean, is that too much? Do they?
They got parking. They're freaking parking lots. There. You have these massive hotels all up and down the Strip, and every single one of them is chock full of parking spaces. Plus, the airport is a 2-minute cab ride away. Plus, guess what, world? Uber, Lyft, cabs, shuttles. If any city is set up for transportation, for public transportation, it's Las Vegas, because half the place is drunk all the time, and you're not going to be driving anywhere. And then, as we talked about earlier in the show, what's Las Vegas good at? It's good at separating you from your money. Guess why your room sucks at the Mirage? Because they don't want you in your room. They want you downstairs in the casino. So guess what, Vegas? Guess what, Raider Nation? The reason that Vegas approved for all this free money, You know why they gave you the free money? Because they're going to get it back. And they're going to get it back by not having you cook chicken in the parking lot. They're going to have you inside the casino. That's where your tailgate's going to happen. You're going to be in the sports book. You're going to be at the blackjack table. You're going to be wherever you're going to be inside the casino. And then guess what, Sonny? And 2 hours before game time, you and I are going to hop in a cab and run on over to the to the stadium and get out at the front door. That's what you're going to do. So this whole idea of where are we going to go? I don't know. Las Vegas? Give me a break. It's so stupid.
I've been to Vegas. I went there once for a works training event. They are Convention City, USA. And I think there's a reason they are Convention City, USA. It's because they know how to host people. Vegas is the hosting capital of the world, essentially, right, Murph? I mean, that's where people go for all kinds of conventions. If Vegas knows how to do one thing well, they know how to entertain you. Now, I will say this. The organic tailgate experience is most likely gone. And that, to a certain degree, sucks, right? I've been to tailgates at the Oakland Raider Coliseum. I've been to tailgates in Atlanta. I've been to tailgates in Tennessee. I've been to tailgates at Oregon State University for college, for Civil Wars, right? I've been to some pretty awesome tailgates in my time. Tailgates are fun. They're exciting. It's the backyard barbecue with your boys. It's the drinking the beers and chicken and all that stuff. It's walking in with the belly full of food and a good buzz on, and then watching your team play football. So there is nothing like a good tailgate right before a game. I will give every Raider fan that who's pissed off that they're losing that. I agree. You're losing something magical. And that separated Oakland from every other team because no other team did tailgates quite like the Raiders. Maybe the Crazies up in Buffalo, but that's a different story. However, what you're losing by the organic tailgate, you're also gaining an experience that's going to be unlike any other NFL experience, right? You get to basically party in Vegas or hang out in Vegas on the Strip before you go to the game. And the Strip nowadays, it used to be, Murph, it used to be all about gambling and getting drunk. Now that it's changed. It's becoming more family friendly, right? You can go and freaking ride roller coasters 2 hours before you go to the Raider game, right? You can go to the top of the stratosphere, ride the roller coasters, then go to the Raider game. You can go eat. You can go drink. You can go gamble. Now you have a plethora of things to do before you go to the Raider game. And I think that's awesome. And I think people are short-sighted and only looking at, well, we got to park 3 miles away. You got to do that for a lot of other places you go. Autzen Stadium in Eugene is one of the best places for a college football experience. Most of the people park miles away and take shuttles to the stadium. It hasn't hampered the experience once, right? And so I think the Raiders will be strategic in this, in setting up that game day experience. Yes, it will be different than the tailgate, but there are different ways to prep for a game besides just the tailgate. You know what I'm saying? So I think people, man, they just need to just chill out. It's okay. It'll be okay. Change is coming. If you don't like change, then you know, I feel for you. But, man, change happens. Change is the only consistent thing in life. So, you know, it's okay.
How about this? When we go to see the Raiders play at Tennessee, we park at the Music City Center, which is the convention center in downtown Nashville. It's across a river from the stadium. So we could park over there, park downtown where all the cool stuff is downtown. There's a pedestrian bridge built exclusively for getting you to LP Field, or now Nissan Stadium. You walk across the pedestrian bridge, and then you get to enjoy the tailgates, and you get to enjoy all the pregame festivities right there on the site. Sonny, when we went to the Raider game back in 2011 with our dads, where did we park?
Oh, yeah, good point. We parked a mile away, across a dirt road, down a dirt field. Yeah, we had to walk quite a ways to get over there.
A mile away, down in the I forget what they call them. There's It's like the airport lot or the marina lot. I forget. They got different names for the different lots because they sell out at the Oakland Coliseum, and you have to park in these lots that are ran by third-party companies. They're not even affiliated with the damn stadium or the team, and you have to park in those lots and literally walk across the freeway to get over to the game. All right, Sonny, when we went to see the Raiders play the Falcons in Atlanta, where did we park?
Miles away, and walked through a gay pride parade where I got yelled at by a guy in a freaking butterfly costume.
We parked at the Courtyard Marriott downtown Atlanta and walked a couple of miles to get to the game at the Georgia Dome. All right, and then my last one. When we went to the game this last year, the Sunday night game against the Broncos, where did we park?
Wasn't it Fremont?
Fremont!
Like yes.
We parked 4 cities away from Oakland. We took the BART all the way to the stadium. This is not a big deal, people. There is going to be plenty of transportation to get you from the game, from where you park to the dang game. Unbelievable.
It's change. People don't like change, Murph. People don't like change. We don't like.
It's not even changing.
We're creatures of habit, man. We're creatures of habit.
Unbelievable.
We're losing the tailgate. I mean, if you've been to
you're right.
the
You're
games,
right.
I mean, that's exciting though, man.
Well, the tailgates will be there. They'll be there. We're just going to take
they will be there.
We're going to take a cab to the tailgate or take an Uber to the tailgate. That's all. When we rode in from Fremont, we got off the BART. We got to the game, 4 hours early? And what did we do?
Walked in the tailgate.
We walked to the tailgates, man. We went hung out at the tailgates and met up with friends and enjoyed the, Raiderville and all that. That's what we did. We didn't miss that experience because we parked in Fremont. No, this experience is not going away, folks. It's not going away. Like you said,
Murph,
it's just changing, but it's not even that big of a change.
Murph, let's not park in this topic any longer.
I got my Raiders boxers hanging low, covering the crack, because I'm listening to Raiders Fan Radio, a podcast by a couple of fans, Sonny and Murf, 4 Raiders fans who are the only fans that matter.
Our good buddies at the Raiderramble, Mario Tovar, and he runs a good site over there. If you're not plugged into the Raiderramble, what the hell are you doing? If you're a new fan from a former team, I suggest you read articles on the Raiderramble, Raiderramble.com, on Facebook, on Twitter, all over social
after you look at the roster, by the way.
Media. Anyway, they recently wrote an article. The tag, Murph, we're very anti-clickbait. We try not to sensationalize too much of what we do here. We are just normal fans, love the Raiders, want to talk about the Raiders. We don't sell ourselves as the only insider. We're outsiders. We don't know jack. We just give you our opinion, right? So we're very anti-clickbait stuff. Raiderramble, we love you. We like you, Mario. You were on our show a while back and stuff, and we support you. You support
right?
us. Yeah,
it's
like we're basically partners in offering free work for everybody else. So, but recently they wrote an article, and I got to call them out on this. The headline of the article was, "Is Derek Carr better than Aaron Rodgers?" And I think Carlos Sanchez wrote it. Carlos Sanchez wrote it. Again, the title is Derek Carr better than Aaron Rodgers? And if you're a typical Raider, if you're a Raiders fan, not a typical Raiders fan, I'm sorry. If you're a Raiders fan, of course you want to be like, well, F yeah, he is, and stuff, But come on, bro. Really? Not quite yet. And now, this isn't a knock on Derek Carr and praise Aaron Rodgers' point of view here, but you got to take this in realistic, right? There's a thing in social media and what people do, and we love to read articles that are basically what's called confirmation bias. And what it is it's an article that backs up what you already believe to be true. So it's not an objective article, it's a subjective article already tagging on what you already believe to be true, and it makes a point based on that. And so this article, hey, I love Derek Carr. I think Derek Carr could become better than Aaron Rodgers, could become better than Brady. I think he could be one of the best players in the NFL once it's all said and done. But as of right now, it's not even close. And here's a simple stat I want to throw out there. And again, numbers don't mean everything. Numbers will lie a lot of times, but Rodgers has a ring and he has numbers to back it up, right? So Aaron Rodgers right now currently sits at 297 touchdown passes and only 72 interceptions. He is on track to become the first player to have 300 touchdown passes and less than 100 interceptions. He is the only guy, Murph, he will be the only guy to ever accomplish this feat within week 1 or week 2 of the season.
Yeah.
Mark
week
my
one,
words.
He'll have it by the third quarter of week 1.
Mark my words. It'll be talked about. You'll hear on SportsCenter. He is the only guy to ever reach 300 touchdowns and less than 100 interceptions. For comparison's sake, when Brady hit 300 touchdowns, he had 115 interceptions, right? Wow. That is 43 more interceptions than Rodgers did. When Phillip Rivers hit 300 touchdowns, he had 146 interceptions. That's 2 times more than Rodgers did. When Peyton Manning hit 300 touchdowns, he had 152 interceptions, right? We all think of Brady and Manning as the best quarterbacks of this generation. I would argue that Rodgers is probably one of the best quarterbacks of this generation, if not the best quarterback of this generation. He's won championship, and he has the numbers to back it up. Carr, at this point of his career, has 81 touchdowns and 31 interceptions. It's a little better than 2-1. It's not quite 3-1, and Rodgers right now is over a 3-1 ratio for his career. So let's pump the brakes. We love Derek Carr. When this was posted on social media, on Facebook and stuff, I went out there and I said, "No, he's not," and I was lambasted.
Of course,
I was
crushed.
blasted. Yeah. I was crushed. Right. Easy. I know you loved Aaron Rodgers, but you also loved Derek Carr. So where do you fall with this, Murph? How do you make sense of this?
Well, I do love Derek Carr, and he is, he and Khalil Mack are my 2 favorite players in the NFL right now, and not only for their on-field performance, but their off-field and the character guys that they are, and they're easy to latch onto as far as favorites go. No doubt about it that I am not a Packers fan. I do like Aaron Rodgers, and I like Aaron Rodgers because I enjoy watching people be the best at what they do, whether that's somebody playing a guitar or throwing a football. I really enjoy watching somebody become a master of their craft. And being that I'm a fan of the NFL and love this sport, when I see somebody mastering the quarterback position, it's freaking cool, man. And Aaron Rodgers, to me, is the best in the business right now. Yes, even better than Tom Brady. And not because of rings, but when you watch him play, the things that he's able to do and create, it's just next level, man. It's just amazing what he does. And the good news is for us as Raider fans, Derek Carr's kind of following that same pattern, that whether it's the footwork and the escapability or the way that he creates things on the field, it's amazing. And that he's definitely, I think, heading in that direction of becoming that type of a player of that caliber, like an Aaron Rodgers. But as of right now, based on 3 years of performance versus 9 years of starting performance, Aaron Rodgers has been in the league, 11, but or really, has it been 11? Whatever it was.
Backed up far, yeah.
Yeah, but the first 3 years, right? And he started getting some play that third year, but he really is a full-time starter since 2008. And even at his worst, he's better than what Carr has been. I mean, you just can't argue the facts. And like we've said, and you're saying, and one of my favorite things to say, and I use it frequently, facts don't care about your feelings. My feeling is that Derek Carr is going to be a better player. But as of right now, the facts tell me that he's not a better player than Aaron Rodgers. Even when you look at the bad year he had, and I'm using finger quotes because that's really effective on a radio show. He's even in his bad year of 2015, when remember Olivia Munn ruined him and all that kind of stuff. Remember the whole narrative around all that? The guy threw 31 touchdowns and 8 interceptions and almost 4,000 yards. He in his bad year, he only finished less than or just a little over 100 yards under Derek Carr's best year. I mean, like, so when you look at the actual numbers, it's not even close. And where Derek continues to trend, and if he trends that way for his career, he's probably going to be a Hall of Famer. I mean, there's that, again, indisputable. When you look at Aaron Rodgers' career numbers, 65% completion percentage, a 104 passer rating, and 36,000 yards, man. Like, you just, as of right now, DC can't touch that. If you triple his numbers, you know, based on 3 years versus 9 years, you don't get to Aaron Rodgers numbers. Now, I'm assuming that Derek's performance and his stats will increase, but he hasn't thrown for 4,000 yards yet. And Aaron Rodgers has done that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. So Derek Carr will have to throw for 4,000 yards for the next 6 years straight to even tie where Aaron Rodgers is now. Right? So it's like, come on, we all want him to be there. And I think that he'll get close.
Yes.
But let's not put the cart before the horse just yet. We still have some room to grow. We still have some things to do. He's got some things to do. And you know what the best part about Derek Carr is? He'll tell you that. He will tell you that he'll tell you I'm not in that caliber of a player. He'll tell you I've got a lot of room to grow. He'll tell you that he's got, you know, much more to aspire to be, to get on the same level as Aaron Rodgers, you know, and that's why Derek Carr is so awesome, because he's got the humility. So let's not project that for him, because he's not doing it for himself. Let's not put that on him. He's got a long way to go. Now, I think this is the year for him to start making that move. I think this is the year we do see him throw for 4,000 yards. Mm-hmm. You know, he's bumped it twice. He's bumped it twice. And I think that this year could be the year. Of course, we're going to be dependent on, you know, Coop and Crabtree, but I think adding in pieces like Cordell Patterson, right? All of a sudden, Sonny, that screenplay turns into 70 yards, right? Those are quarterback numbers too. So I think there's a lot of, you know, same thing with Marshawn. You know, Marshawn will catch a screen pass. He'll catch a, you know, a pass out in the flats and you know, truck somebody and take off for 20 yards. Those are quarterback numbers, you know. So when you look at how Aaron Rodgers accumulates a lot of his numbers, I think the Raider offense can end up doing the same type things. You know, that Jordy Nelson makes one guy miss and takes off up the sideline. That adds to Aaron Rodgers' passing totals. And so I think we're going to see that stuff start to happen for our quarterback as well. But like you said, pump the brakes a little bit. Let's not get too crazy. And the reason why, here's ultimately why I would say let's not get crazy about it, is that you just set yourself up to be let down as a fan. Don't expect this guy's going to go out there and be the greatest quarterback in the world. And then when he's not, then you know what I mean? You feel like you're kind of let down. No, just expect him to be what he's going to be. And then that way, whatever growth he does have as a player, you can then enjoy watching him play and watching him progress. So the next Aaron Rodgers maybe, but certainly not the current one.
We'll use Carlos Sanchez's last words on Derek Carr in this article, and I firmly agree with him on this. The best is yet to come in regards to Derek Carr.
What's wrong with all the reading I've done? I don't see your name up here in these mock drafts. Is there something I'm missing?
No, sir.
Is there a flaw, a dramatic flaw?
No, sir. Yeah, there's two different kinds of perceptions of me. You know, there's one in the media, and then there's one that matters.
You know, Murph, last week, and we forgot to talk about this at the opening of the show, the list of famous birthdays aligned with Al Davis is coming up. Stay tuned. It's right around the corner. But last week, Murph, we put it out there. You had talked about finding an old cookbook that was titled "Just Cook, Baby." So we went to social media and we put it out there. We learned that short questions get further than long questions. Inside joke there. So we put it out there to a couple different Raider groups in our Facebook profile there, and we got a lot of responses, but no greater responses than from the group 1 million Oakland Raiders fans. It boasts 23,000 members on Facebook, very active group. And I know we give RNFL a lot of love in here, but I also want to give some love to some other Raider groups out there. And so 1 million Oakland Raiders fans, you're still about 980,000 away from having 1 million on Facebook, but you're doing good so far at 23,000. Anyway, a lot of good responses. I think we had something like 60 comments or something like that on the post. A lot of tattoos. some not so good Raider tattoos. A lot of cards, a lot of jerseys. Robert Guzman posted up my Oakland Raiders paycheck stubs, which I thought was pretty
legit, man. That's
right?
legit.
Thought that was cool. And he stated he worked at their team store facility over in Alameda, and then when they opened up at the Southland Mall in Hayward, he worked for there as well. Thought that was pretty legit. Napoleon Kaufman signed card, Tim Brown jersey. I think one guy had like 30-something DeAndre Washington signed cards. Paul Griffin posted up. I thought it was a pretty cool picture. He posted up 2 L.A. Raider hats, and then behind him he had CDs and cassettes. Now, for those of you who don't know what a CD and cassette is, a CD used to be a circular disc you would input into a player, and it would play 12 or 13 songs by your favorite artist. And then a cassette was virtually the same thing. It had 2 sides. It had an A side and a B side. A side had about 6 songs. B side had about 6 songs as well. Anyway, so he posted up all these old school Ice Cube, NWA CDs and cassettes and stuff, Eazy-E with his LA Raider hats. I thought that was a pretty cool post.
That's cool. That's legit too.
Right?
Yeah. Cool.
Paul Anthony Silva posted up a shield full of autographs, some old pendants, or pennants, I guess you could say, more tattoos. But I highlighted a few of them that I thought were pretty cool. Frank Nitty Duran posted up his autographed Flores jersey.
Whoa.
Now, yeah, one of the original black and gold jerseys, though, Murph, before they switched to silver and black. That's old school, right?
That's old school.
Most people probably don't even know the Raiders used to be black and gold.
Black and gold with burgundy
Black
or
and
something,
gold.
too.
Yeah. Dan Reardon, he posted up. A lot of people posted this, but I thought his was one of the best. He said, he's like, screw all you fools. My season tickets for the past 23 years.
Oh, nice.
I thought that was cool. A lot of guys posted the tickets. This one was really cool, I thought, from Aaron Raider Jones. He stated his cousin died from diabetes on the 4th of July 3 years ago. But before he passed, he gave him his old Reebok Oakland Raiders sweater. Might not be valuable, but it has sentimental value to him. I thought that was
cool. That's cool. Yeah.
I thought that was. I had that as the best because, like, those are those things you can't replace. You know, those are those heirlooms that the season tickets are cool, the autographs are cool, but when you get something from a family member or a friend and they pass on, every time you look at that, you're reminded of that family member or friend and stuff. You know, so I thought.
Well,
that
was reminds me of the story you tell about when your dad passed away and you were going through some of his things and you came across all those newspaper clippings of Raider stats and stable articles and all that kind of stuff. It's like that kind of stuff that, you know, you can't replace that, and you can't replace the memories that you tie to stuff like that. So that's pretty cool. So what did you come up with? Did you come up with anything?
Yeah, so I didn't post a picture of it. I will. Mine is it's again in relation to my dad who passed away in 2012. It's a Raider helmet that I remember getting at Toys R Us when I was probably like 4 or 5. We got it down there in San Jose. We picked it up. And then we went home, and the first thing my dad did, I remember watching him do this, is he wrote 12 on the back of it. He wrote a 1, and he wrote a 2. And,
nice.
it's sitting right here. It's 10 feet from me, and the 1 and the 2, the 12 is still there on the back of it. It's pretty cool. And so I grew up wearing that helmet, and now both of my kids have grown up wearing that helmet. I got pictures of them with it, and we run around pretending we're Raiders players and stuff like that when the games are on and stuff. And so for me, much like what Aaron Raider Jones posted, you know, you couldn't sell it for $3, you know, on eBay or something like that. But the sentimental value is huge because I got that 33 years ago from Toys R Us for probably $10, and my dad gave it to me. And even though my dad has not been around to see my sons, he's basically his grandkids, they're still able to wear that helmet. And, you know, hopefully somewhere my dad's smiling down watching that happen and stuff.
Very,
you know?
very cool.
So that's my cool. You know, I thought about the Stabler autographs or the Reese, or, you know, we got all those autographs and stuff, but I think it's that helmet for sure, man. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's very cool. Good stuff.
All right.
Good stuff.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, Murph, let's get to the list, right? We've talked a lot about this list. There's a lot of important birthdays on July 4th. Murph, what do you think the most important birthdays are, or what are some famous birthdays for July 4th? What did we come up with?
The United States and Al Davis.
That's it. And that's the end of the list. The United States of America and Al Davis. The two most important birthdays in the United States of American history. All right, Murph. Anything else before we end the show?
That's all we got. That's it. What else is there to talk about?
That's it.
You know what? There's nobody on the list that will eclipse either of those two. So that's it. We're done, and we're done.
I'll give a shout out to my friend Lee Lopez. He's a Raiders fan. We grew up together. If you're listening, I'll give you a shout out. But you're a distant third, Lee, compared to the United States of America and to Al Davis. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Raiders Fan Radio. Check out the website, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that kind of stuff. Always appreciate the interaction, especially when we put something out there like, hey, you guys post up your favorite memories. We love the community. And Murph, we got to start talking about the Tennessee game. We'll be live at the Tennessee game. We want to set up some interviews. We want to set up instant reactions and stuff like that at the game. We'll probably set up a spot before the game to do a live segment there, and we want to get you guys in there as well. So we'll figure that out.
3 miles from the stadium in order to prepare everybody for the Vegas game.
So we hope to meet up with some of our friends there that we made through this little endeavor here. And anything else before we go?
Just a punter, Sonny. You know how I love me some punters.
Oh, he loves his punters.
I was a punter for part-time and punter in high school, and so I got to give some punters some love. At Gilbrandt, NFLnetwork.com, ranked the greatest punters of all time, and of course, 3 of them are Oakland Raiders, and 1 Marquette King, Ray Guy, and surprisingly, ahead of Ray Guy, number 2 on the list, Shane Leckler.
So who was the greatest punter of all time?
Sammy Baugh, man. Sammy Baugh.
Slinging Sammy Baugh. Sammy Baugh. All right, thanks for tuning in, and as always, Raider Nation, it's Raider Nation, wherever, forever.